want you to stop focusing on outcome-based goals, like losing 5 inches on your waist. Instead, I want you to focus on action-oriented goals that you can control yourself. Why is this important? Why is this important? This is for my mamas who are tired of feeling stuck, for tired of feeling like you're failing at your goals. And it's important to understand what type of goal to focus on, outcome-based versus action-oriented based, because when you set an outcome goal, like dropping dress sizes before Christmas, okay, it's easy to feel discouraged. And this is something I see with my moms a lot. It's easy to feel discouraged if the results don't come quickly enough. That often leads us to give up and not even continue before we even taste success, okay? Whereas with action-oriented goals, like doing 15 minutes of core exercises 4 days a week, those type of goals can keep you motivated because they're things that you can actively do, not something that you hope to achieve or hope to be that you can't really control. Does that make sense? Well, here's the thing, Mama. If we often feel like we're failing because we're focusing on the wrong goals, and I don't want you to feel like a failure. I want us to change that so that we can feel motivated to keep going, because feeling like a failure is super demotivating. So we don't want to do that. If you have time, I'm going to keep talking. We're going to dig deeper into the subject. I'm going to give you a little bit of a story about myself. But if you don't have time, scroll to the end of this video, and I'm going to give you my 3-step action plan to create goals you cannot fail. Okay, so this is not just a pep talk. I'm going to give you some tools to help you. All right, so little story time. I literally almost died after my first baby. I remember after I had my baby, I had him in the morning. As the day was progressing, I was feeling like a sharp pain in my pelvis that continued and got increasingly worse as the day went on. I remember laying in the bed and realizing, like, very quickly, I was like sitting in a puddle of blood. And I was like, sorry that that's TMI. But I remember telling the nurse, like, hey, my pain is increasing throughout the day. This was the first day after I had the baby. My pain is increasing throughout the day, and I'm sitting in a puddle of blood. I don't think this is normal. And I remember her like kind of rubbing me and poo-pooing me like, well, honey, you just had a baby. Like, that's normal. And I'm like, this doesn't feel right. So I remember that evening when the nurses switched, I had a new nurse for that night, was actually a friend of mine. And I told her, I was like, look, Beth, you know me, you know I'm not a complainer. I can tolerate pain, but you know, this is what's been going on. I've been having this increasing pain and all this blood. She called my doctor right away, and the doctor came in immediately. And the doctor discovered that I had a hematoma the size of a grapefruit. And she whisked me away quickly into operation so they could try to stop the bleeding. And long story short, I remember that I woke up from the anesthesia and the team was still working on me. My legs were wide open, and there were people down at my legs, and there was a guy there holding blood and giving me more blood because I had lost so much. And there was another person saying, you know, we're going to do a procedure that we've only known about in theory, we've never actually done, because we've done a bunch of things and the bleeding isn't stopping. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Anyway, obviously I'm alive to talk about it, but if I had slept that night, I don't know what would have happened. You know, I was hemorrhaging and it wasn't good. But either way, the aftermath of that experience left me with a lot of pelvic floor trauma. I probably had a really bad avulsion tear, which is where the pelvic muscles actually detach from the bone. And so I've had a lot of pelvic floor trauma. And confession, I actually still leak a little. And I say this story because when I do leak, let's say I do some new activity that I don't normally do, like especially activities where I have to jump from side to side, I will still leak. And when that happens, I do feel like a failure. I feel like an imposter. I've helped hundreds of thousands of women regain their pelvic floor strength, and here I have these setbacks occasionally, and it's really frustrating for me. And when I focus on that, I start to get that kind of failure feeling, you know. So I say that because if my goal is to never leak again, then I'm going to feel like a failure. I have to work on exercises for that particular, let's say it's basketball. If I want to play basketball, I have to do some modified plyometric exercises to train my pelvic floor to do that because of the trauma that I've had. And I have to focus on the process. Like, I can sit here and be upset and feel like a failure, or I can focus on the process of, okay, I'm going to duplicate those exercises of basketball, do some back and forth exercises so that, and when I do them, it helps and the leaking can resolve. But sometimes I get into a new activity and I have to troubleshoot that activity so that I can do that without leaking. Anyway, here's the lesson that I've learned, okay? And I want to share this with you to encourage you, and that is focusing too much on your outcome goals can make you feel like a failure, okay? Even when you're making progress. And you don't want to do that to yourself. Whether it's a fitness milestone or something else, the key is to focus on the process that you need to go through and give yourself some grace, okay? Again, the thing I really want to leave you with, and next we're going to go into our 3 steps to create goals you cannot fail, but I need you to just put this in your mind. It's the key to success is to create goals that you can control, okay? And adjust them as needed for you. Think of your goals as tools to serve you, not as a rigid benchmark that you have to measure up to. Here's the thing. Sometimes you set a goal. I want to drop 2 dress sizes by Christmas. Okay. So then you have this goal that's way over here and you feel like you have to measure up to that goal. And sometimes even setting goals can be stressful because you're like, all right, here we go. I'm either going to fail or not, because you have this goal that's kind of like, I want to drop 2 dress sizes. Now, I want you to consider reframing your goals. Instead of you trying to measure up to your goal, I want you to make your goals to measure up to you. And here's how. Step number 1, you choose an outcome goal. Okay, so let's say you want to drop 3 dress sizes or 2 dress sizes. Okay, it's okay. It's okay that you want to do that. You just have to use that as your goal to help you, give you direction as to what kind of action goals you need to focus on to meet that goal. But then instead of focusing on the outcome goal, you focus on the process or the action goals. So your focus isn't here, it's here, okay? So first you set the outcome goal to know what direction you need to take. 2, you make goals to create a process goal to support your outcome goal. So here's an example. I want to fit into jeans that are 3 sizes smaller. Let's just say that's what your goal is, your outcome goal. Number 2 is the process goal would be, I will do core exercises 15 minutes 4 times a week. That's something you can do. You can't fail at that, okay? And here's what I mean by you can't fail at that. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3 is you assess your goals weekly and you adjust them as needed. So if you don't meet the 4 times a week, 15 minutes a day goal, then you haven't failed the goal has failed you. It's time to adjust it to meet your needs. Okay? All right. So that's how you set a goal you can't fail, because the goal is there to serve you, not for you to serve or measure up to that goal. I hope that's making sense, because that's how it really works in real life. You haven't been doing anything that's not a habit for you is new. So you're going to have to figure out how to make a new action that you want to do or a habit that you want to adopt. You have to make it work for you. And that does take time, and it's a process. Okay. So number 3 is you assess your process goal weekly and you adjust it as needed. So for example, let's say that your schedule you weren't figuring out how to do 15 minutes a day, 15 minutes 4 times a week. So you would ask yourself the question, what prevented me? What can I do? How can I overcome? And you might say, you know what? I was trying to do it in the evening, but I don't have energy. Let me try it in the morning. Okay. Or let me try 10 minutes instead of 15 minutes. So you adjust it to meet your needs, and you see what you need to do to get to where that goal is working for you. So like, for my members in my 8-week core challenge, we set a goal at the beginning of the week or the beginning of the program. I had this. So if you're watching this and you're in my 8-week core challenge, you go in your app, in the My Mango app, go to action plan. It's an online action plan. You fill it out and it's already kind of pre-guided for you. And this is something, whether you're in my program or not, you can do this. Okay. There's some questions that it will ask you. Let's say you're going to do the core exercises. 4 times a week is 15 minutes a day. That's really about what you need to be doing to get results. But I've had people get results in 5 minutes 4 times a week. So it doesn't have to be that. And you got to start somewhere. Anyway, so you would fill out the action plan. But we also have weekly checkups in the app. If you're listening to this and you're in my 8-week core challenge, or even if you're not, you want to make your action goal, and then you want to go back and you want to assess it and see how you're doing with it. This is where a lot of people fall off. They set the initial goal, they feel badly about not doing it, and they never adjust it. But life is life, and especially for us as moms, things can change from week to week. Kids are about to go on vacation. Things are going to change. So that's why in the app, for those of you who are in the community where I'm in there and I'm encouraging you and we're encouraging each other as a bunch of moms, I send you a note every single week around Thursday or Friday, and I say, hey, go do your weekly checkup. The weekly checkup takes 5 minutes. It's an online thing. You get the results emailed to you if you're in my program, okay? So, but you can't skip that part, because that's what gives you that longevity and gets you results, because you're working on the process itself. Okay? Why this works? It works because you're focusing on what you can control and not what you can't, right? Your goals are designed to serve you, and you're working at making them serve you. And if something isn't working, you adjust. It's not a failure. It's just learning. That's it. Okay? All right. If anyone has any questions, let me know. Like I said before, I have a passion for moms getting the functionality back that they deserve, feeling confident in our bodies. And I've had exercises. I've had lots of people go through my programs. And my heart is making sure that you have the balance, mom life balance that you need, the tools that you need, and whether it's goal setting, habit stacking, whatever it is, so that you can actually do the exercises, get to the program, and get the results that you want.